Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here with you again. Wow, amazing opportunity. And I want you to just go ahead, like they say, smash that subscribe button now. Okay. Yeah, baby. All right. Okay, have some fun. Yes, we like to have fun here. I've got my friend Raamon Newman here. He's basically won everything. He's won every contest, and no one's ever beat him. I'm just joking. No, you'll know why I said that. Once I get into the bio.
Build stadiums with thousands.
Yeah, he's beaten all the records of everything, and athletics and business and everything. So, but yeah, actually, he's done some really incredible things and working with really powerhouse companies and corporations out there. So I'm really looking forward to sharing his wisdom with you today around the science of protection. And definitely we're going to have a very engaging discussion because I may have a different point of view than he does. We'll see where it lands today. We might get it might be mixed up a little bit in here. We'll see who's going to win out here today. We just got to get everybody excited about what we're talking about here, right? So, yeah, boy, it's going to be interesting. Okay, so let's talk about Raamon. Raamon is the co-founder, CEO of New Mavericks, a leadership development consultancy based out of Los Angeles, here in the States, of course, and Sydney, Australia. Over the last 20 years, Raamon and his business partner, Paolo, have been a globally trusted leadership breakthrough protection partners to over 50 top CEOs and execs of multi-million and billion-dollar revenue companies. He's a former top 3 nationally ranked track athlete, 2-time national cross-country team winner, 4-time state championship winning rugby player, and 10-year full-time meditating monk. Okay, he's up for some challenges, I think. Meisner trained actor and philanthropist. He graduated from the University of Auckland, New Zealand, amazing, with the Bachelor's of Commerce. While engaged in acting training in New York City during the 2007-8 global financial crisis, he realized a calling to help protect leaders and their progress through developing their leadership capacity and awareness to make the best decision that protects the interests and success of everyone. This has become his passionate life purpose. So I'm very grateful to have you here, Raamon. It's always a pleasure to be with you, as always.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, we had a brief podcast. Was it beginning of this year? Yeah, beginning of this year we connected. Yeah. We had a brief one there. So I'm glad I was fortunate enough to graduate to the main.
Yeah. Now for the main event.
You've got your crowd of 50,000 people. It was kind of deafening just you coming on and hearing all that roar.
Go, Raamon. Go, Daniel. Here we go. All right. We'll see.
Like you're an anointer of spiritual rock stars. So
right.
An honor to be here. Thank you.
Yes. Absolutely. I'll take it. I am the anointer. I am the one. Absolutely.
The initiator.
Yes.
I will give you your spiritual rock star knighthood.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, we're talking about how to protect the progress as a leader through the science of protection. So yeah, one of the things that appealed to me to have Raamon on, first of all, I love Raamon. And then the second thing is I definitely wanted to dig into the wisdom and also possibly the racket he's into with this whole protection, that kind of stuff, but we'll see. So tell me about this. Now, have you always been going around talking about this stuff about how we need this protection thing, or?
Yeah, I wrote the book on it. So yeah.
Okay.
The advocate.
All right, advocate. So, but yeah, tell us more about what about your story a little bit and what got you into this protection racket.
Yeah, sure. So Basically, I went, as you said, I went through all these achievements, through my teenage years into my early 20s. And that was great. But at the end of it, I actually burnt out. I just did, like, my physiology broke down. I wasn't able to perform at the level that I wanted to break through from being a top ranked national athlete to going into the international scene. And I got very sick, a lot of respiratory problems, a lot of digestive problems, kept me up most nights for over 6 months. Left me in a pretty depressed state because I thought that was my soul and my soul's purpose in life, to be a professional athlete. And so it's quite devastating when I realized that, like, I wasn't going to make the grade, that I had basically shot myself in the foot. Even though I did all the training and I put in the work, had Olympic gold medal winning coach, said, if you keep up your progress, there's no reason why you can't go to the Olympics. So that was, very inspiring. And he said, well, as long as you keep progressing and you stay healthy. And I failed on the healthy bit. So it led me to, first of all, resist, what I was going through, and numbing the pain with more drink and more food and dating whoever seemed interested, just to kind of band-aid that kind of painful feeling of not really fulfilling what I wanted to. And so I eventually got over that, and I said, okay, I just need to reflect. I just need to get real with myself and work out, well, why did this happen, and how can I prevent this from happening in the future? Because we all love to enjoy life and expand our happiness, but we don't like to suffer. I don't think anyone puts their hand up for suffering in this world. And so, but somehow we create our own suffering, and so if we're not on the right track, with ourselves. So that led me to go inward. I'd been very extreme outwardly, physically active. I thought it was all about the action. And yet I took all the actions and still found myself in a place where I didn't want to be. So long story short, I ended up learning to meditate. I learned TM. And first time I learned to transcend, go beyond my body, my mind, and my intellect and my ego, and to really get to that source value of consciousness, which we're all connected to. I realized, oh my God, I can still feel fulfilled and not have to run and train my backside off to feel good about myself. And so I realized the real goal is actually not achievement. The real goal is fulfillment, fulfilled in who we are, and from that, the expression of who we are. And so that experience was such a contrast from being so outward to coming back to that source of action, which is silence, that I was literally, I said, I want more of this, and I swung the pendulum the other way. And I found myself at the age of 25 signing up for a full-time meditating program, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was committing to that for a year. This was kind of the real deal in silent monastic living. The focus was inside, not outside. And so I was going to do that for a year. After a year, I was really enjoying that lifestyle. And I said, okay, I think I can do another year. And then the second year became a third and fourth, and I ended up being there for 10 years. And so it became very, fulfilling to kind of go to deeper layers of myself and realize, the true fabric of who I am, and that I'm not just a body and a mind or intellect or an ego, that I am a pure level of awareness and intelligence and consciousness. And that if I can function from there, then I'm more likely to have a fulfilling life rather than just achieving and maybe not being fulfilled. So I really went for fulfillment first, enlightening myself as much as possible, getting rid of all those stresses and imbalances that I created for myself physically through my athletic endeavors. And after 10 years, I said, okay, I feel like I've really fulfilled my bucket up here, my cup up here, and it's like overflowing with new energy and intelligence and a little more self-awareness, that I wanted to go back into the world and reintegrate that and see how I might be of value. So I decided what any normal monk does who wants to give up that lifestyle. They go to New York City and do that acting program to really get connected to the world again, because New York literally forces you to do that. And so I was there 2007, 2008. I was going to do an acting program. I was doing an acting program. I did a summer program followed by a full couple of terms intensives of acting, just to kind of learn how to reintegrate and connect with people in a better way, because I had all this connecting to self, but had to reintegrate that with others. And this is when the 2007, 2008 kind of financial meltdown was going on. And in the city of New York, you could literally feel the tension. all these very successful, intelligent, smart leaders of finance were literally crumbling, and there was a lot of kind of purification and unstressing and layoffs, and even unfortunately suicides were happening because of the calamities that were going on. And I realized, these guys really know how to achieve, but somehow they're also creating suffering for themselves and for others. And so that makes me think that they haven't really done the inner work to know how to achieve without creating that. So my business partner, he was also a monk. He was actually 15 years, he spent 6 of those years up in the Himalayas, Paolo. And he came out of that environment also around 2007. We reconnected, and he asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm in New York City and I'm doing this acting program, but I'm also realizing there's a lot of suffering going around here. And so he'd already been working with business leaders, and he actually introduced me to his concept of literally being a silent partner, where we would spend time 8 hours in silence, and then we'd connect with business leaders and just to support our livelihood in that monastic lifestyle. And then we realized, no, this has real value in the world, not just for our enlightenment or philanthropic purposes. This is a value. This can be valuable to bring more silence and consciousness to leaders. And so we started to get more formalized and got introduced to a number of top CEOs running multi-million, multi-billion-dollar companies very quickly. And once they got a taste of what we were offering, they're going, okay, this is invaluable to me. And most of our clients have been working with us for 5 to 10 years. We have an 11-year client. Paolo has a client who's been working with him for 22 years. So it's very deep relationship, because we go to that deepest level of the self and leadership to really support them there from that level.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. I mean, usually, people are clients for a few months, maybe a year, maybe a few, 2 or 3 years at the most. Have clients that long term of 5, 10 years. That's pretty remarkable. So it shows that there's something that you're contributing that's totally invaluable to the people that you're serving.
We're just sharing our experience of having that experience, that unique experience of spending so much time inwardly, and we're just integrating that value for them into their business life so that they are, what we call protected. And when we talk about protected, it's not really a defensive thing, it's actually an offensive thing, is that we're actually helping them actually be more free and less bound by the stress, by the pressure, by the negativity, by the incoherences that can go on. And when we wrote this book, The Science of Protection, it was for leaders, but when we thought about it deeper, we believe that protection is a universal intelligence. That's why we don't see the planets smashing into each other. There's some underlying order that's there. And if we respect that order and we're in tune with that order, then we can be protected and achieve as much as we want, as long as we want. So protection, we're calling it's a universal force of intelligence that allows us to create, maintain, and dissolve based on what is good for the whole, meaning ourselves and our world and everyone in it, to really survive and thrive and evolve also.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I mean, a lot of people I talk about meditation. I teach about meditation. I have not done anywhere near the level of meditation that you have done or your partner has done. But I understand deeply that that's a big part of what you're talking about here. I mean, we're protecting ourselves because there is this thing, like we go to metaphysics. I understand what you're talking about. We want to tease out the subject matter here. So it's like, there's this idea in metaphysics, for example, like I had a student that, part of my training to him was the idea that there is no need for protection, right? So I talked to him, I'm like, when you're connected and you're really connected, oh boy, there's no need for protection when you're really connected. But here's the thing, we're not always so connected. And so there is a need for protection. When I shared this flip side to this particular student, it was like, no, I don't believe that. There's never a need for protection. I'm like, I don't know about that. There's no need until you need it, right? So tell us more about that.
And we're trying to protect ourselves from the outside in through insurance contracts,
Right.
legal contracts, cybersecurity, security surveillance systems. And this is all useful outside-in protection to take care of our assets and protect our families and stuff like that. But it's reactive, it's limited. It's after the fact, usually when the damage has already occurred. So what we're talking about here in this world of protection is that word pro. It's proactive. It's pro-detecting what needs to be averted or what opportunities are there that need to be realized and captured before they're arising, because after the fact is like, oh, we're all 20/20 hindsight, but what about foresight, And so as we do have this quality of vigilance, which really comes about when we've got this coherence between our amygdala and our prefrontal cortex. So the amygdala is always giving us impulses. Hey, watch out for this, watch out for that. But if it's not interpreting those impulses correctly, and it's just like they're coming so fast because the amygdala does actually give us information faster than we can interpret it. That's why we do need a very developed cortical brain, prefrontal cortex, to interpret those impulses correctly. So we are vigilant. Do I need to react, or do I need to just, wait and observe and be patient? And so it's an inside out way of protecting, so that you are enabled to be able to not be affected or diminished or corrupted, by stress, by negativity, by pressure, incoherence, vices of, greed, anger, lust, vanity, jealousy, false attachments. These can all corrupt us and diminish us and cause us to make those decisions that we maybe later regret or miss those opportunities that were there, things like that. So leaders, I think more than ever in this accelerated, rate of change that we're going on in the world, leaders have to be very awake and alert, to what's going on and what's required to protect themselves and their team, so that they can, continue to advance their health, their wealth, their happiness, relationships, and reputation, and even, protect obviously our environment.
Yeah. So right now, for those that are listening, that so a lot of the people listening may be just solopreneurs, but there may be also some people that maybe do have a corporation or a business. What are some of the most common things that are the top of the top? What are like the most common threats to their businesses usually? I mean, of course, you've got your own pain body, and you got your own issues that will corrupt your relationships with your employees, with with your customers, everything. Like it just goes rampant, right? So
Right.
it's almost like any protection from your pain body or something. Like, I don't know how to put that, but like so what are some of the most common destructive patterns you see that you help protect people from through the process that you share more about as we go on here?
Yeah, sure. So especially for like the common thing that why even CEOs engage with us in the first place is they want to feel less of the pressure. The pressure is always there. It's inherent in that role of responsibility and accountability, but it doesn't mean they should, suffer from it, And so our job is to help them not be affected by it, and to really help them, because the pressure actually exists, as you know, Daniel, it's in the mind. The pressure is in the mind, right? And CEOs and executives spend a lot of time in their mind, right? And so this is why we're trying to get them away from that pressure to achieve. And we're saying, hey, it's not about achievement. Achievement's going to be there. You're just doing your work, but really to not achieve without the pressure is to come from a place of fulfillment, right? And that's when people, sink into their heart, and that they feel grateful for who they are and what they're able to do and what the qualities they have and the lessons that they've learned in their journey that they can now parlay to others. So it's really about getting them into that place of fulfillment, right? And so if they're coming from a fulfilled place, then they feel less, they feel more gratitude, they feel less pressure, they feel like they can make decisions without being rushed because of all the pressure that goes on in their mind. And therefore they're more likely to make decisions that are good for the whole and not just, for some short-term gain or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is so really invaluable. And it's so like what people aren't like framing it that way, right? That's why I'm like, what is this protection thing?
Yeah.
Because what you got some protect? Hey, new Mavericks here. We'll protect you. Like, okay. So, but
weaponry here. Yeah. But it's really like, it's really spiritual weapons, is that we're giving them, to be able to, because a lot of leaders, they'll make decisions because they're gripped by certain vices, be it greed, be it anger, be it revenge, be it, I got to prove myself, or things like that. And that is not a healthy place to lead from, And so if we can get them back into that place of fulfillment where they're actually leading from consciousness, which is, nourishing to everything, because leaders have to be like the sun. The sun doesn't create problems. It just comes up, it shines its grace and its light on everybody without distinguishing it, or discerning against anybody, and then goes to sleep at night, So leaders have to be like that. They have to just, they rise up, they share their wisdom, they share their light, they illuminate the path for people, and that enables people to not, create suffering or trip over themselves or cause damage to themselves or the environment that they're in.
Yeah, so the kind of the top thing is the level of pressure that they feel is what I heard you say. So yeah, that's the sense of responsibility that they have. And what are the issues that get created when people are feeling too much pressure? I mean, some of them are obvious, right? Your body breaks down, relationships, everything. But directly to the business and to the people they're trying to help in the business, how does it affect their business as well? I'm curious about that.
Affecting them, well, personally, and it's, obviously the personal and professional affect each other. So a common thing is their sleep, that being at sleep at night, and then, oh shit, that thought comes up that wakes you up, that says, I got to remember to do that, da da da. And if a leader's too bombarded, by thoughts that they don't allow their mind to settle down, their body to rest, then they're not in a great place to make good decisions, because as soon as this prefrontal cortex is fatigued and tired and stressed, it doesn't see things as clearly. And so that's the most important thing, is that, top leaders have a very developed prefrontal cortex, right? It's just it's been developed somehow, through maybe their own spiritual practice or just life experience. The shortcut is always spiritual development to develop that prefrontal cortex rather than have to go all the hard knocks of life and business. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to give them the shortcut, to make sure their prefrontal cortex is well maintained, so that they do have that clarity and that creativity to know or where the next step has to be made. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, even Jeff Bezos, he says a lot of his decisions come from his intuition, his heart, and his gut. Mm-hmm. And those are the kind of three aspects of ourselves, right? Our gut is our gut feeling, how we really feel about things at a deep level. And then our heart is, what emotions are there, what kind of things are we inspired by? And then our intuition is just kind of that knowingness, is it the right time to do it this way or that way? And a lot of the top leaders that we've worked with, they'll often, before they make a major decision, is they'll just, and sometimes they forget to do this, but they'll just step back into themselves and they'll just go into silence, even in a big meeting where there's a lot of decision makers around them. They'll just be quiet in themselves. And often people in the room think, he's trying to make us, sweat, about our offer or what we're trying to do here. But often they're just feeling themselves in their gut, in their heart, in their mind. How do I feel about this offer? How do I feel about this person, this company? Is this the right time and the right people to be working with? And it's really, that's where you tune into the best decisions, and they've found that world-class athletes and business leaders and musicians, when they're performing at their best, they have a unique style of brain functioning. It's called global alpha coherence, which basically means a lot of orderliness between all hemispheres of the brain, so that they see that bigger picture and also able to see the finer details to integrate that bigger picture into reality. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think about like late last night, I was just wrapping up, looking at a few emails, and I had one email from Google saying something about you're gonna, this is happening or that's happening, and my tired brain, with the fatigue of, my tired brain, my first impression of it was more fearful. It was like, oh, so they're doing something, it's gonna screw something up or what. And I said, oh, okay, I don't know about all that. I'm just gonna put it away for the night. Okay. And then fresh in the morning, when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, it's nothing. It's a meaningless email actually to me. I mean, and so it's like, yeah, I mean, it just goes to show, and how all the productivity experts always say, right? Do your most creative tasks first in the day and all that sort of thing. And it's because you won't have the energetic juice often for most of us, later. Sometimes nighttime could be highly creative for some people, absolutely. But everybody's a little different, but generally speaking, if you've been doing a lot throughout the day, you're going to be fatigued, and and they always say, right, like you only can make so many decisions a day, and you're toast. It doesn't matter who you are. So
exactly. Ariane Huffington, she's a classic case of that. She really worked a lot to make that Huffington Post happen, and then it got to a point where she was finding herself working at 1 o'clock in the morning. The next thing, she falls asleep working, hits her jaw on the desk and cracks her jaw. Wow. And she's like, okay, I'm missing something here. And this is, I think, a very important thing is like knowing when your mind and body has to go and rest. Mm-hmm. We get too attached, and this is this attachment to achievement. If I just do this in one thing, it's going to make a big difference. But it's like leaders can get this habit of like, I'm just going to fire these arrows, keep firing these arrows, and something's going to land. But really, that can hit a few targets, but it's kind of a lot of wasted energy. Whereas someone who just really pulls back the arrow, really pulls it back to its full potential, really aims it well, and then lets it go, is more likely to get the target a lot more quickly and a lot more efficient. And so if we're coming from that restfully alert state, that global alpha state, then we're more likely to, really hit the target that we want and not feel exhausted at the end of the day.
Yeah. I always go back to tennis matches. I was, that was my athletics in part, what I did. But I just remember, there were times when I would will myself to win, okay, or I was more unconscious and would lose, but like I would will myself. I'd say, no matter what, even if I die on the court tonight, I'm going to win this match right now. And then, of course, it would work for me, but it would took so much effort, and sometimes I get hurt. And then other time, and then on the flip side, I always talk about these golden 8 weeks I had during a summer league where we switched up partners, all different kind of skill levels, really. And like I would win every single time. Like I was winning every match all summer long. And I was in that flow. I was in that connected state. I was in that state you're talking about. I'm just like, okay, this is easy. And it's the best way I could. I'm present and it's easy. And I'm being sort of quietly affirmative, but like, I'm not like hyping myself up at all. I'm just being present.
Yeah.
And it was like, it just was invincible, so. Yeah, so it really, I use that because it's kind of more, maybe a little more visual for people, but like the difference between the two states. Yes, the other one maybe temporarily can take you to victory, but the person who's deep in presence will win every single time over that person anyway. Even if you look at it as a competition, they will be more sustainable, and they will beat that person anyway, no matter how determined they are, because they're so connected. They are so connected to the power that really is making it all happen, that it's unstoppable. So that's been my experience of it too.
Yeah, it's like those subtle levels of ourself are just infinitely more powerful than the surface conscious levels of physicality and action. Because they even actually show this in brain research when they studied athletes versus business leaders versus musicians, is that, this is a little bit discriminatory, but the people that had the most brain coherence were the musicians, because they're engaged physically, mentally, emotionally, and probably spiritually, and so they were utilizing more of their potential, whereas if you're an athlete, sure, there's mental involved and reflexes, but it's mostly physical. It's a physical intelligence that you're engaged with. But those people obviously have very developed brains as well to be able to function at a world-class level. But it's the finer levels of intelligence that have so much more power.
So how can we protect ourselves from, overstressing ourselves, pushing so hard on that achievement button? I'm going to win. I'm going to max. I'm going to go to billions of dollars in my company. How do we achieve this protection?
So in the book, we formulated, 4 components that we think are important that leaders can at least be aware of. And the whole idea here is that we have a science of achievement. We all have our own unique science of achievements, right? Anthony Robbins, I think, dovetailed or promoted that word initially. His science of achievement was focus plus massive action plus grace, which is a pretty solid formula. And we all have derivatives of that in our own way. And we felt, okay, that's great, but that science of achievement requires a science of protection so that we don't suffer, we don't burn out, that we are able to calibrate, our massive focus and action with something deeper, right? And so we realized that the science of achievement required, some components like purification. That was the first component that we came up with, It's no good. Like I had the experience, I'd put in all the effort, but I was really bad at recovering. I didn't even know what recovery was. I didn't even really have a massage until my early 20s. I didn't even realize massage was necessary to be to recover properly. And so purifying those stresses, after we've put in the effort, either through meditation, taking some quiet time out, getting that massage, anything to purify stresses or agitations or aggravations in ourselves or vices that are going on will really help purify the path, right? So that we're achieving in a more smoother way rather than, carrying our yesterday's stress in today's, world. And then we're carrying that load with us, right? So leaders are very focused on progress. It's all about progress. But if they add purification and purification will lead to even better progress, because they're not carrying the weight of their stress of yesterday and the past.
Great.
So that's definitely a first component, taking time out to purify your mind, your body, and then being able to infuse more coherence, having that more orderliness between your mind and your heart and your gut, so that, sometimes we can think, this thought, but then we feel something different, so there's some incoherence there. Is that a great state to make a great decision? Probably not, right? Because there's a conflict there. Something's not right. So the more we can take time to create that coherence, within ourselves, that quiet time to reflect and meditate is very, very important. And then it allows us to be more in what we call the next component is a leadership state. So a leadership state is when you have that integration between your impulses and your prefrontal cortex. So you have that quality of vigilance, which is actually the highest quality of the amygdala. Everyone thinks it's fight, flight, or freeze, but that's actually the lowest quality of our amygdala. The highest quality when it's integrated with our prefrontal cortex is vigilance, which means that we have more foresight. We're able to avert the danger before it arises. We're able to really be awake and alert and coherent to what is the most truthful thing we can do to avert the danger that may arise and see the possibility or opportunity as it arises. So that's a great thing. And that's the thing we really want to get across. Leadership is not a title. Leadership is not a position. Leadership is not status. Leadership is a state of awareness where you are awake. There's a saying that where there's absolute alertness, there's protection and victory. If we're dull and we're kind of out of sorts and we're not completely with it, stuff can happen, because there's always things coming at us from our environment and we can get caught out. So, I've had experiences, when I was a teenager, I'd have a job, I'd have my training, I'd have my schoolwork. It was all, that typical lifestyle of trying to fit everything in. And I would rush a lot. I was gripped by rushing. And I had this one experience where I was coming home from I had a bread delivery route. I deliver bread to the supermarkets, and we had this steep driveway at home. And I wanted to get home, get out, get changed, and get back in the van and get over to a sports game, a sports stadium. There's a World Cup cricket was going on at the time. So I was in a real hurry. I just wanted to get out of my job and over to have some fun. So I drive up top of the driveway and jump out of the van, walk a few steps and realize, oh my God, the car's moving backwards. I'd forgotten to put the handbrake on. So next thing I find myself grabbing onto the bull bars in the front of the car, trying to stop this van from going down our driveway. And obviously I couldn't do it. So it just went into, fortunately we had another driveway below us and a brick wall. So it just banged into that and stopped. It didn't total it or anything, just a few dings, but it made me realize, oh my God, I'm just so gripped by my activity, and doing things. So it's adding that ability, that silence with the activity. And ultimately the goal in a leadership state is that you have silence. So you're able to observe more clearly and you're awake and alert. So it's a coexistence of silence and dynamism at the same time, right? And that's when we're really integrated and that's when we're really balanced. And then we can be really busy, but we're not overshadowed by that busyness. We're not gripped by that busyness.
Right. I mean, you could be engaged for 18 hours straight potentially, or whatever. I mean, whatever amount of hours, if you're in that place, because I really feel the sense of stress and fatigue really comes from being out of alignment, right? I mean, I think that's basically where it comes from. I mean, you're the one that actually knows more about the brain science and all that stuff than I would, but that's what I see anyway. When people are really connected, they are super productive. I mean, they're like uber, like over the top productive, and so yeah.
And that's the the value of being in that state is it gives you more capacity. And this is the next component that we elaborated. That we always want to have more capacity inside of ourselves than what's going on outside of ourselves. When we feel overwhelmed, it's because the problems, the issues, the challenges, the opportunities are bigger than us, right? And so when we have a greater field of capacity inside of ourselves, then we're able to really handle any great opportunity or any great challenge, right? Nothing can overshadow us. And a great analogy for this is like, if I take a teaspoon of salt and I put it in a glass of water and I drink that water, am I going to taste that salt?
Right.
Yeah. Will. So if we take that same salt and we put it into a lake, a big lake, are we going to taste that salt? No.
No, not that. Yeah.
Unless we really dive in the same place. But it's the point is that the stress is always going to be there. The pressure is always going to be there. But if your capacity is so expanded, then you don't feel it. You're just beyond it in some way. And so when we're respecting our capacity, it's like saying, what capacity am I at? Am I under capacity? Am I over capacity right now? And then being able to calibrate accordingly. And then what you find is when you're in a good state of capacity, you're more able to make those spontaneous right actions. And that's the next thing. We just don't want to be taking massive action for the sake of taking massive action, and we end up doing a lot, but not accomplishing a lot. We want to really get in tune with that spontaneous right action, and then that creates more timely evolutionary steps of unfoldment and progress. And that, and then turn gives us more what we call deserving power. Tony Robbins called it grace. We found a more apt description was deserving power. Not that I am deserving of this power, but that I have deserved the power of support, from my environment, because once we get to a certain level of, putting out good energy, putting out good value, there's a threshold of energy where nature can't deny us. Nature has to, wow, this person's given so much. And we always say that when someone wins something or achieves something or, achieves something great, what do we say? We say, oh, they deserved it. They deserved that because of what they were doing and how they did it and stuff like that. So as we take more spontaneous right action, because we have good capacity and in a good leadership state and have good coherence and we've purified our negativity and our vices, then naturally we're deserving. We're very worthy of whatever we want to achieve, And so that's kind of the cornerstone of protection. Some people have that deserving so that even if there's great problems going on, they're not affected. We've seen like the Me Too movement was a classic case, right? Very top high achieving people literally had their reputations culled to ground zero overnight, right? And this is the thing, is like positivity takes a long time to build up. It takes a long time to build a big skyscraper, but it can take one day to knock it down.
Right.
Negativity is just that quick, and that's why we need to be protected from those wrong decisions or those indiscretions or those inappropriate behaviors, as it was in the Me Too movement, that can end up derailing us for the long term, because we think, oh, we're achieving, so we're great and we're invincible. And then all of a sudden we go, no, but we didn't really do it in the right way. Or we're a little bit off track about how we conducted our behavior and things like that, because those things catch up with us, as that movement proved.
Right. And yeah, I mean, in so many ways it can catch up to you, even if you're all focused on positivity and doing good, but you're overwhelming your system. I mean, eventually, it develops energy. Some people call it shadow or whatever. And all of a sudden we start getting in addictive habits. Maybe people start drinking, getting on drugs, pornography. I mean, whatever it is, to try to deal with that sense of that stress. But then their capacity, it takes away temporarily, but then, their capacity is staying the same or diminishing in the process, right? So, and then I think what happens for some people, there are definitely people listening that are going to fall in the category you're talking about. But also I think that if people anticipate that, okay, all right, I'm going to get after everything. But they already know their capacity isn't big enough to be able to handle it. They're going to get too stressed out. It's going to affect their relationships, their health, and everything. And they have a big value for that. And they're like, no way, never will I do that. Now they're not going to move forward. So they also need the ability to be protected so that they can actually even begin to really allow that to happen. So
and that's the value of your work, Dan, as you're really helping people on that inner development side of things, which is really the foundation and the basis for the outer development. If we see a company collapse, if we see a leader fall, or we see a celebrity or something goes wrong in their life, we can usually point it back because they got so caught up on the outer development and they forgot to take care of their inner development. Because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. The more that we evolve on the inside, the more we're able to achieve and accomplish and protect that on the outside. And that's where protection comes from. It's a coherence. I think the biggest chapter we had was the coherence, and we said that protection is through coherence. When you're coherent, your team is coherent, negativity and incoherence can't get in. It'll try. It's there for a reason because it's part of nature. But if we're coherent, then the negativity it's so weak it can't affect the strength of coherence. And there's a saying in yoga that within the vicinity of coherence, hostile tendencies are diminished. It's just a law of nature that when we're coherent, we're less likely to be corrupted and diminished.
Absolutely. One last story that comes to mind around this is I always forget his name, but that maybe you know the name, but that Japanese billionaire, he's got he's got a whole museum of gold that's open day and night, no guards. But his energy and his capacity is so protected that no one steals. It's not just a culture, but like if somebody could come out of a country like, oh, this is perfect, right? It's nobody takes anything. It's really open. And the reason is because he is in that connection, and he also has that mind. It shows up as a mindset, but like he's like, yeah, well, no defense, no need for attack. We're fine. Like so.
He hasn't created anything that, well, as far as we know at this point, that some reaction coming back to him. He's either neutralized all his negativity in his life, so there's nothing that will really come back to affect him. I mean, there's a great kind of fable that I like to tell. It's like a man goes into a brothel and he comes out and he gets a gold coin. And most guys go, oh man, where's that brothel? I want that gold coin, right? On the other side of the equation, a man goes into a temple and comes out and gets bitten by a snake. Think, oh damn, that temple must suck. I'm not going to that temple, right? But the irony of that story is that the man who went to the brothel was supposed to get a whole treasure chest of gold coins. But because he lowered his frequency, we talk about this at the end of the book in terms of protection setting. We talk about goal setting, but we can also protection setting. Protection setting is about your frequency, and that's why how we are in any given moment is so important as to how life will respond to us. Right. So if we've lowered our energy frequency, then that good fortune coming back to us goes, oh, okay, we're going to give you the treasure. Oh, we'll just give you one coin now. You know?
Right.
And then the guy that went to the temple, he had a lot of negativity come back to him, right? He could have died, right? But because he went to a place where he wanted to raise his frequency, put his attention on God, you know, he developed some level of protection, and instead of losing his leg or losing his life, he just got bitten by a snake and didn't die, right? And recovered. So it's very, very powerful, you know, and your work is very powerful in that sense, to get people in that right frequency, you know, so that they can attract in what they are deserving of, and they can neutralize what, you know, the unfortunate ignorance of the past.
Yeah, absolutely. This is invaluable what you're sharing about this, and yeah, I mean, who would have thought, you know, that we need a science of protection? I wouldn't have had that kind of mindset to develop something like that myself. So I really credit you for coming up with that, because you're right. I mean, I think for your market, especially the people you've been working with, protection is huge. I mean, so yeah, it makes sense. Which yeah.
Well, the other, I mean, the title is a little bit controversial because it's a science of protection and it's for leaders. And some people are going, oh, some of these leaders don't need protection. They're so off the mark that they need to be taken down, right? and the subtitle is how to gain an unfair advantage, you know, to create and sell this. That's not fair, you know, having an unfair advantage. Yeah. But the thing is the way we present it in the book is that unfair advantage is based on, as you say, it's you being connected to you, right? Because you are so unique and everyone's intelligence is so unique that if we're not living the full potential of that intelligence, then it's problematic, you know. But if we are, it's like we have an unfair advantage. And that's what one of our clients said to us. He says, you know, working on myself and helping my own in development, I feel like I have an unfair advantage because most people aren't doing that. Most people aren't taking the time, a small amount of high quality time to work on yourself so you can better work on it in your business. You know, and I think this year is going to be super important based on what's happened in the last year, that people are going to become more spiritual. People want to be more spiritually connected, you know, because they know there's more power there and they can work things out in a better way versus being all stressed and anxious about what's going on the surface.
Yeah, it's a perfect chance for people to really examine all those little critters of energy that have been swarming around in there all along. And I have heard some people already saying like they're taking better care of themselves. People are usually really busy, like, well, this forced me to quit traveling, for example. Like, so now I'm taking better care of myself. I lost 40 pounds or whatever it is. Like, you know, so it's a huge opportunity. And I think people are on what you're talking about and doing this deeper work, you know, that those are the people that are going to be, again, they're going to be very well positioned now and going into the future, because everybody's like, well, this will be over soon. I don't think so. It's just going to be an ongoing wave after wave, is my prediction, over whatever period of time, but number of years. And you know, so this is getting to be more essential than something, oh, we can get by without it. You know, it's time to wake up, right?
I think consciousness is not going to let us. Our collective consciousness has risen to such a degree that nature's not going to let us get away with doing the wrong thing anymore, right? And that's why we've been literally forced to come back to ourselves. And you know, because if we're taking care of ourselves spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, then we have good T cells in our body, right? That take care of any virus or any bacteria that gets in there. Because that's the whole idea of immune system, is that when it's working well, it takes care of anything. It's more powerful, more strong than any virus or any bacteria. And the more that we take care of ourselves on the inside, not only do we have good T cell count or the right amount of T cells, but we also have good oxytocin. We're more connected to ourselves, and therefore we're more available to connect better to others. And we have less cortisol, you know, and we're more in that parasympathetic, relaxed state where we can actually enjoy life. How can we enjoy life if we're not relaxed? You know, you can't be doing the right thing and suffering at the same time. I don't know if you ever tried that, but it's pretty hard, right? So if we are doing the right thing by ourselves and our bodies and our minds and our relationships, naturally there's a protection there, you know, that allows us to keep going and keep progressing in spite of whatever pandemic or stock market, fluctuation is going on, because there are companies that are doing very well in this time.
Yes.
All the companies that we're working with, they've actually grown during this time
Mm-hmm.
because they have been doing the work. One of our companies had a record-breaking year. It did help that they're a medical supply company.
Right. Right on there. Good positioning.
Yeah, but they could have fluffed it up. They could have, stuffed up their orders and supplies and, lost customers and things like that. But they were coherent enough to be able to deliver what the customer wanted when they wanted it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, they're able to move and take advantage of what was going on. They get that unfair advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
The fair advantage when people are willing to practice.
Yeah.
We have to share. So
yeah, what we should call it is a fair, unfair advantage.
yeah, right. Exactly. So you have a whole lot more you can share with people. You just released this not that long ago, this book actually, right? Is that right?
Ago, yeah.
Yeah, too long ago. And I know you have something to share with our listeners today for them to learn more so they can get this fair, unfair advantage for themselves. So can you tell them more about that?
So I'd love for you to really absorb this value of the science of protection for your science of achievement. So go to www.scienceofprotection.org, and you can see how to get the ebook there. If you want to go and get it on Amazon, there's a Kindle version there as well as the paperback, and then you'll see in the back of the book you can go back to the scienceofprotection.org and get the toolkit. So that's be a good start. We're also, happy to give away the first, let's say, 6 people that text me their email. I'll email them a free copy of the ebook. And if you want a follow-up session to talk more about protecting your reality via the science of protection in a more customized way, happy to do that also. So those are the things I can offer right now.
That's great. And we want to go ahead.
Text number? Do you want to leave the text number?
Yeah. It's a 45-minute just recap here. So we've got the ebook, The Science of Protection, how to leaders get that fair, unfair advantage to create stellar success at scienceofprotection.org. So you can go there and they've got an incredible package there for you for like $6. I mean, it's like an incredible package. And then
leadership toolkit, protection toolkit. We had a few more bonuses in there.
Yeah. And then the second thing that Raamon is very generously, now again, he's someone who is working with multi-million and billion-dollar, entities here, and he's offering his time to you. Now that's kind of crazy awesome. So he'll give you a free 45-minute leadership breakthrough protection discovery session to anyone that texts their name and email to him. And his phone number is
323-742-2225. Yeah.
Okay, so 323, and then here it says 742-2225. Okay.
Yeah. 2225 is the last 4 digits. Yeah.
Nice. All right, so take advantage of that, and also if you prefer, you can email him also at support@newmavericks.com for the first 6 people. Support@newmavericks.com. Let him know that you heard from him on this show. All right, great. So, Raamon, we're at the time of the show where I take a moment to tune into my guests, utilizing my capacity as a gift to you for a minute or two, and I highlight your awesomeness. So, you ready to receive?
This is the ultimate highlight of the show.
Yes. A moment we've been waiting for. Yes. Okay, so let's take a moment just to slow down a sec. Okay, tune in. Okay, this is sometimes it's more predictive psychic guidance. I'm getting like a plethora of new opportunities for you in the new year. So they're just like want to share the good news. Like, hey, wow, there's a lot going on for you. So new
Thank
growth.
you.
Yeah, more and more new growth. It's developing, it feels like. So let's see. maybe to the point where you need some assistance, go somewhere mid-year or something, like get a sense of need of assistance, like, man, hey, how do we, handle the influx, so I get something
Yeah.
around. So that's good. Let's see what else I'm getting that wants to come through today. I'm just seeing the throat chakra opening up more. So there's a sense of like you're really like expanding in your expression. So this, I feel, probably because of the book, I feel like your own capacity in this area to share more of your message in a more expanded way with more people is really opening up a lot. And so I see a huge potential opening up with that. So I feel you're going to get more, if I were to predict, I feel like you're going to get more and more press coverage. This is going to get to be bigger. In other words, I feel like, it's just the tip of the iceberg. I feel like it's one of those things that are going to keep expanding. I think about like the science of getting rich or things like that. Like, I don't know if it'll be that level or not, but like, it's going to really keep expanding. It's one of those things that continues to grow. Let's see what else I get. Just for you and my listeners, like you have that wonderful intuitive insight too, that you've harnessed. So the pinpointing ability, pinpointing exactly where the weaknesses are structurally or energetically for people, like you're very ginsu at that. So you just know exactly where it is, and you're able to address those things easily. So it's quick. So you can help short up certain things really quickly for people. So you have that pinpoint accuracy, and I think it gives people a self-assurance in the way you share the information, that they just want to say yes to it right away. Like, yeah, I want to do that. Let's just do that. Let's do it now. So that's a great gift. I see you like kind of maybe, I don't know, it looks like kind of like typing. So I feel in a sense like it is you're writing more books. So we got some more books coming up. Even feels like going into the new year. I don't know when they'll be released, but they're being created. There might be something to do with like a fiction book too. It might not always be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm working on a film project and a TV project as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's an action sci-fi that with the script's written, and it's really about how do we elevate collective consciousness to such a point where we can create the ideal reality versus, a dystopian potentiality, So how do we avert, going into a dystopian reality where we're all restricted, what is it, 1984, scenario?
Right.
How do we just get to that level where we're free and we're living our full potential, because that's what I think that's really what we all want in order to feel fulfilled, is to know that we're living our best,
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing. So anyway, so there's some of the things coming through, and
well, Dan, you called it here, man. I'm going to say it. I'm going to point it all back. This is happening because of the spiritual rock star himself, Dan Hanneman, actually prophesized this. So
yes.
Talk to Dan, and he'll get you on the right track as well.
That's right. So if you want, your own personal oracle reading here, okay, people, I'm gonna give you a chance.
Dan, I'll be coming back for more, definitely.
Cool. So if others want to check me out, go to yoursacredpurpose.com. There is an opportunity to get a consultation with me. I
love that website by the name Your Sacred Purpose. I mean, that's life right there, If you're living a sacred purpose, you're blessed, So if you help people find that, you're blessing people like to the nth degree.
I appreciate the acknowledgement. Yeah, it came to me that way, that this is what we're doing. So, but yeah, there's an opportunity for an energy scan consultation. There's also an opportunity for a free meditate and make money meditation. Open up your energies a bit, get the downloads, see how the easy way to let things happen. And I do have people reporting, they're listening, and they just keep making more money. And they credit it to the they're doing other things, right? But like they credit it to the meditation. So check it out, yoursacredpurpose.com.
I'll just give you a plug on that, Dan, because this whole ability, I mean, we're all we all want to give in some way, right? And we're in control of that giving, right? We can control what we give. But the receiving part, that's difficult for most people because you're not in control of the receiving. But you have to be, like you say, you have to be in that right state to receive. Because you can be giving a lot, but if you're not in a good state within yourself because you don't feel worthy, you don't have self-love or whatever, you block your ability to receive, which, and that's, you don't have a control over, but you do have control over your ability to be open to receiving it. And that's the blessing that I believe you bring, and I think just after we scheduled this, doing this podcast, we got on the call with one of our clients, and I've been working on this a bit myself. And at the end of the phone call, he said, Raamon, when you send me the monthly invoice from now on, just increase it by 25%, and that's because, one, we were so focused on giving, making that process of their experience the best way possible. But at the same time, if I hadn't also been like developing my ability container, my capacity to feel like I'm worthy of more, that may not have happened. You have to do both.
Right. Absolutely. You've got to, and that's where people are in that optimal state when they're really cultivating receiving, and people, that's usually where the weak spot is. It's not the giving, it's in the receiving. So absolutely, the meditation helps a lot with that. So yoursacredpurpose.com. And then Raamon, thank you so much for being on the show today. And do you have any last words for everybody as far as anything you want to share?
First of all, just want to acknowledge this has been a fantastic podcast, and I always say a podcast goes really well because it's a reflection of the host, because it's your creation, and I'm only just reflecting back, the value that you are. So it's been a really great experience, and I appreciate your consciousness and your ability to open things up. And I would just, affirm that, base your life on consciousness. Don't get caught up in your thinking and your mind and your emotions. They all change and come and go, just the ability to move forward is not getting hung up, and we get beyond hanging up and getting hung up by really coming back to consciousness, taking that time to go beyond ourselves. And I believe when we're coming from consciousness, which is the basis of everything, then we have more observing power, and when we're able to observe better, we're able to more easily know what needs to be given, what needs to be received, what we need to be open to, and really we're able to, through that, then create more deserving power, and we all deserve great things, but we have to really have the observing power there to allow that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the examples as we're wrapping up here that I always use on this show is Eckhart Tolle. He's amazing. I mean, talk about being present and open and to everything just unfolding. I mean, he's just a great example of it. And he's not attached. He's not attached to the outcomes. He's not attached to the money. He's not attached to any of it. And so he could be back living in his car again, and he'd be absolutely in bliss. He'd be fine. So and that's the levels that we do. That's why I love him so much, for the leadership he has in that respect. And we all have the capacity to embody more of that for sure, 100%. So
fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much, Raamon, for coming on today. And for all our listeners, again, just keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone. Goodbye for now.
There you go.
You're listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.